So this is just using this John Milne guy as an example, right? This is the Parliament website for the MPs. I know that this John Milne guy actually ended up reporting himself in for misconduct. But I'm just going through all these MPs now, and this is a government and Parliament website. Now, since 2005 and all the way through, as they've gradually gone onto this social media, this can't be right. Firstly, right, what they're doing on these social media platforms is they're using their electoral campaign material, and they're using their electoral campaigns and adverts, and what's ended up is they've ended up using it as their MP contact for Parliament, as their MP parliamentary contact, just like their mail address, like here, but they have the constituency office as well, but few of them are bothering to put the constituency office on. And they're only having the email for Parliament, and very few of them have got any other telephone number. Some have got telephone numbers and contact for a constituency office and a Parliament office, but most of them now are replacing with social media. Now, the thing is, for example, let's look at this. I think this is Anglesey. It's one of the Welsh MPs. Now, she actually hasn't got any social media on at all on there, and she doesn't have a constituency office in Wales, right, in Anglesey. I think it's Anglesey. I think Ylys Môn is Anglesey, but it's one of the Welsh MPs, right? And she's only got an email address for Parliament. She doesn't have any social media on there, right? Now, this guy's got all social media. He's also got Blue Sky on there. Now, this is the argument that I'm having with the Electoral Commission, which is that all these websites, foreign people go on there, and foreign people can comment, and foreign people can report the adverts, and foreign people can report the videos from America. And the law that they're enforcing is not English law, right? It's not English law that they're enforcing. It isn't English law. It's this American Section 230 that they're enforcing, which is overreach of English law. So these MPs aren't going to be able to use acts like the Obscene Publications Act if there's any animal cruelty or anything like that, right? So you can't... The MPs are not actually allowed to use the full law on these, whereas they'd be allowed to use the full law through email contact, and they'd be allowed to use the full law through the telephone, right? And if you phone them on BT, if you speak on the telephone, you can use the full law. Now, this is actually a problem. Now, they've introduced the Online Safety Act. In the Online Safety Act, legally privileged is exempt from the Act. So because these are all for Parliament, they're all exempt, but they're for Parliament and an election campaign as well. And Parliament law is different to election campaign law, right? So you've got two different overlapping laws, conflict of privileges there. Now, this Section 230 is not enforceable in England, but they've been applying it. Like, my channel was for parliamentary purposes and it got taken down. Yet, in court, the other party is not allowed to use any of our own evidence in their case when it's legally privileged. They're not allowed to use our evidence in their case because it's legally privileged. Now, this is another thing. Another thing is that all these are for profit. Now, I know that BT is for profit, right? BT itself is for profit, but there's not any advertising on there. But it doesn't sell your own private conversations. You buy their service, and then you've got the service like Royal Mail. But the thing is, when you use Royal Mail to contact Parliament and send a petition in, you don't pay. You don't even actually pay the fee to send it. It's exempt. So, you know, are the telephone calls meant to be exempt? But the thing is, these companies are actually inserting adverts in there, and there's a lot of for-profit business activity, which I think it's problematic. And also, these companies are all getting advertising on here and getting their logos on here. Now, I know that the thing when you put a telephone number, you just write phone number, okay? BT doesn't necessarily get an advertisement because you could be on any phone company, right? It might not be BT, it might be like Branson Virgin, right? Phone or whatever, right? They don't write BT there and they don't put the BT logo there, right? What it just actually says is a telephone number. So that means you use a telephone as a device. And telephone, I don't think it's patented. It might be, but I don't think like the device telephone is necessarily patented to mean BT. It just means it can be in any device which you contact someone through. So there's just a number that you ring there, right? And even email address, it doesn't say Gmail, Outlook, Hotmail, Yahoo, or anything like it. It just says email address, right? Now the thing with once these companies got established, they're all actually a brand. So Blue Sky is a brand and a company of social media. Facebook is a brand and company of social media. Instagram's a brand and company of social media. TikTok is, and so is X. It's even got the old name, right? Now I know that if you just put the contact, it's in the address. So if you just put the social media page, it would actually be within the address itself, right? But this sort of proves that there's something unusual happening here with these getting advertised and promoted rather than BT isn't, if you see what I mean. BT is a number, but BT doesn't get advertised and promoted because you can have any telephone company or use any telephone, right? Almost kind of like you can use any brand of computer. But these are all brands and for-profit brands that are getting advertised. Now, I never even knew about Facebook and it existed until the BBC told us that there's this thing called Facebook and everyone's going on it, and then I went on it. So the BBC is public funded. The BBC is funded by the public and it's meant to be not for profit, but they actually introduced Facebook and got everyone to go on it, which I think is actually helping the government with their digital ID plan, because they got everyone to go on social media and put their identity and things on there, right? So that wasn't a good move from the BBC, I don't think, because they've also given Mark Zuckerberg a lot of money and profits. But mainly for electoral purposes, a lot of these sites, the links to these MPs, they're mixing in their electoral campaigns 24, and they're leaving them on there all year, and their ads, like Rachel Reeves is, they're mixing it with their parliamentary contact, which is meant to be funded by Parliament. And the things that you use in the background, all of the production things in the background is meant to be paid for by Parliament, right? But it's ending up getting used to help the electoral campaign success, right? So there's something very strange going on here, right? There's something very, very, very unusual going on here with the introduction of this social media. Because the electoral law says that you can't have any interference from overseas companies or people and foreign countries' law. And there's actually a House of Lords debate on that, which I've got as evidence. I've got evidence of a House of Lords debate on it, which goes into detail. And it says there's much more to explore on it as well. And all these are violating that. I've got a video of a woman in Australia, a Russian woman actually in Australia, and she was actually showing me how she can flag certain videos on these MPs' campaign websites and parliament websites to get it taken down from overseas. And that's actually on foreign policy clauses, which aren't actually, they're overreaching the UK law. Like that Obscene Publication Act is just an example of a law that you would be allowed to use in this country for an electoral process or for Parliament privilege, but they're not allowing it. So I don't really know what is going to happen with YouTube and Facebook. In fact, YouTube's the only one they don't have on here, but they might as well. You know, some of these MPs are choosing to put Blue Sky on there, but some of these MPs could have YouTube on there as well, right? But I haven't noticed one of them has put YouTube on there, right? But they've put Blue Sky on there now. I think that it's advertising, and I think that they've rushed into it too quickly to try to modernise. It's what Nick Clegg said, you know, and they haven't actually been keeping up with the legislation. There's a lot of detrimental effects that the forced adverts are doing on us here, which the forced adverts are having a lot of psychological effects on people and negative effects on people, which the government have just allowed them to do, and they've not even taken that into consideration either. And these companies that have rushed ahead. So Nick Clegg even said that, you know, the tech companies are rushing into it and the government's far behind. But I think the government let them do it on purpose. I think the government allowed them to rush ahead because it wanted to force change without any legislative basis behind it. In fact, it's illegal. But that means that the government have actually engaged in illegal activity in order to get elected and also promote